Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for waiting as we were waiting on everybody. Just a general reminder before we start the presentation that you want to submit your questions through Q&A, not through chat at the end of the presentation so that we can get those answered and so that everybody can see those. My name is Anna Luong, and I'm a program coordinator here at Best in Class. Today we'll be talking you through the Gifted Test Prep program. We're going to start off by giving an overview of the gifted programs and the testing process, and then we're going to be discussing how our program will help prepare your students. So registration, it's going to be at our 3 different locations, Bellevue, Bothell, and Redmond this year. Registration will open up at 1 p.m. on Thursday, September 12th. So please remember to register online at this registration link. This link can also be found on our Gifted Test Prep page of our website. Remember that spaces are limited and can only be reserved after you register online completely and online payment has been received. So please make sure to set a reminder for yourself. You can also access the registration link currently. As soon as registration becomes open, you can register, but you can also enter your email address so that you're reminded when registration opens. So is your child gifted? As you're determining whether you want to enroll your child in the gifted program, some of the questions that you should be asking yourself, some of the characteristics of our gifted children, are first that they have a large vocabulary, they have quick recall skills, so they're able to remember things very clearly. They also are capable of abstract and symbolic thought. So they're thinking about these larger picture things and larger principles. They also like puzzles and riddles, and they have a keen sense of humor. They will be creative and have imaginative ideas. Maybe they're interested in adult topics. They show empathy. They make unique connections, or they seek challenges. Another way to think about this when we're thinking about placement into the program is determining the percentile scoring. So to place in one of the top gifted programs, meaning that there's services that are provided at designated schools. Your school district may have different names for this. At Lake Washington, for example, it's called Quest. It could be called Highly Capable or Merlin. Looking into the percentile scoring, most programs to get in, you typically need to score higher than 99% of all other testers within the same grade. That means that out of a class of 99 other students, your student has to be the top 1%, so the top student that is scoring. Depending on your school district, though, you may have different percentile scorings. So I would recommend that you look at your school district's website to determine what the percentile may be. Sometimes it's the top 3 to 5% that get placed into pull-out programs. There also are a number of different tests that are used by school districts. So again, I encourage you to navigate over to your school district website to see more information about those tests themselves. As you can see, most school districts are offering COGAT and ITBS as different testing methods. There might be other names for the knowledge-based tests that they're offering. For example, you can see that some school districts offer the STAR test or the SBA test or the MAP test. It's going to differ by your school district. So keep checking in on that online. Again, they're listed right here. As far as our gifted program goes, we try to focus on the COGAT and then our knowledge-based test, the ITBS. The COGAT is a cognitive aptitude test. So that's a reasoning test that targets cognitive development, general and specific reasoning abilities, and problem solving. The 3 parts to the COGAT test are going to be the verbal, quantitative, and nonverbal, which we'll be going over more in depth in the following slides. And then you also have knowledge-based tests. So these are academic achievement tests that are measuring listening, vocabulary, word analysis, reading comprehension, math, social studies, science, and sources of information. This test measures student performance against national student standards and against other students taking the test. As far as the COGAT, the verbal section, this is divided into picture or verbal analogies. Our picture and verbal analogies for first and kindergarten students are going to be these 2x2 matrices with analogies. But for other grade levels, it's going to be verbal based. So they'll look at different pictures and they'll have to provide, they'll have to think through the relationships between those different items to identify what the fourth picture should be or what the fourth analogy should be. As far as our picture or verbal classification, those are going to be figuring out words or pictures that are similar. So for our kindergarten and first grade students, those are going to be picture-based. But for our other grade levels, they're going to be verbal-based. And then we also have our sentence completion. That is going to be choosing the word or the picture that best fits into the question. Again, for kindergarten and first grade students, that will be picture-based. Whereas with our other grade levels, we will be looking at different sentences and what words should go within those sentences. So a lot of these things are very pattern-based that you'll notice, even the other parts of the COGAT as well. As far as our quantitative battery, so we're going to be looking at number analogies, number puzzles, and also number series. For number analogies, that's going to be identifying relationships between quantitative concepts. So again, like the matrices that we see in our picture or verbal analogies, those are just going to be more numerically based, but you will still see like a matrix. We also have number puzzles. So those are going to be math equations that students are going to complete. For our kindergarten students, though, that is going to be presented as trains. So essentially, they'll see two pictures of a train, and then they'll have to determine which answer choice they should choose so that both trains can have the same number of objects on them. We also have our number series. So those are going to be series of numbers that they must recognize what comes next. And for our kindergarten students, that's going to come in the form of an abacus, where they're going to see which should come next. So essentially, they're looking at those patterns once again. And then we finally have our nonverbal section for the COGAT. So within that, we have our figure matrices, our paper folding, and our figure classification. For our figure matrices, that's going to be figures in an analogy form. So again, we'll see those patterns, except it's going to be with pictures or visuals instead of being verbally based. With paper folding, it's going to be questions where papers will be folded, and then there will be different hole punches, and then it's going to ask students if they were to unfold that paper, what they would see once it was unfolded. And then with figure classification, it's going to be asking students to determine the fourth figure when they're presented with three figures. So which figure should come next after those first three. And then with our knowledge-based tests, so we have our ITBS, our Iowa Test of Basic Skills. This academic achievement test measures through listening, vocabulary, word analysis, reading comprehension, math, social studies, science, and sources of information. This test is going to be between 2.5 to 4 hours, depending on your grade level. We also have STAR assessments for some of our schools. Although the STAR assessment is a knowledge-based test, this is going to be a little bit different in that this test is a computer-based test. It is adaptive to adjust to the needs, so adjust to the difficulty of questions based on students' responses throughout the course of the test. Within that, we primarily prepare students for the ITBS. With the STAR test, it's very difficult to prepare for that just because of the nature of the test. For the school districts that do use STAR, we actually will be preparing students with our ITBS material, but we will scale that one grade level up so that we can make sure to accommodate for those students who will be asked more difficult questions on the STAR. With our course, our goal is to give students the best possible chance at success with the qualifying tests. So some of our objectives are to familiarize students with the testing formats, to learn how to navigate the different test formats, and to provide test-taking strategies. We are not saying that we're going to make your student gifted, but we definitely can prepare them and help them to get practice with the test so that they're ready when test day hits. So by seeing all these different test questions, by going through the material, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable than just coming in blind on test day. So we really want to familiarize them with that process and help them to navigate that. As far as our class structure, we focus, as I mentioned, on the COGAT and ITBS. Bothell also offers NNAT, which is very similar to the COGAT nonverbal test. The class itself is fast-paced. Most of our time is going to be directed at engaging with the material rather than talking through it. So again, we're going to be asking students a lot of different test questions. Instruction is going to be woven throughout the material. And then students are going to be encouraged to ask questions, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be individualized instruction. Again, these are group classes. So there's going to be around 15 other students within each of the classes. Students are definitely encouraged to ask questions, but we want to make sure that everybody's being helped. They also are going to be given a packet for each session. The unfinished parts are meant to be sent home as homework. They won't get a ton of homework typically. We will be going through most of the material within class. Answer keys will also be included within the packets for all of our parents to see and check in on at home if students do have homework to complete. Just some extra tidbits. We also encourage new vocabulary. We incorporate abstract or symbolic thought. We're modeling metacognitive strategies, meaning we want our students to be aware of their own thought processes. So we want to give them time to reflect on the test questions, evaluate their strengths and weaknesses, and give them strategies to approach these different problems. We also will be practicing stamina and focus, really getting them to practice with those test questions so that when test day comes, they're prepared to sit throughout the test. We'll be modeling using humor in the classroom. We definitely want it to be a positive environment where they're excited to come to class. And we're also going to be practicing inductive and deductive reasoning skills. So we want them to learn how to make those general observations based off more specific information. We also want to make sure that they know how to come up with specific answers given generalizations. So how can you help as parents? You can definitely make sure that your child is well rested and eats a healthy meal. Ask about the focus of each class. We do provide a class schedule on our website within our flyer, so you can see what the student is going to be working on that week, whether it's COGAT or ITBS or NNAT preparation. So check in with us if you have questions, but again, make sure to double check the schedule every week. Make sure that your student has homework completed. So if we do send them home with homework packets, make sure that they have those questions completed. We encourage that you support their efforts and be honest about areas of both strengths and weaknesses that you see within your student. And then again, please direct all questions to the manager so that instructors can give their full attention to the students during class. Here is our contact information for the 3 different locations that we're going to be offering classes at. Thank you so much. We'll now be answering questions. So if you do have those, please submit them into the Q&A so we can get all of them answered. We'll also have a recording of this posted afterwards on our website if you want to look back at this. So it looks like we just got a question sent through chat itself, asking how does the curriculum cater to students who are already in holistic HiCap and just need to clear Iowa testing? Again, as I mentioned before, it is a group class. So it isn't going to be catered to individual students, but we will be covering all the material on the Iowa test, the ITBS. So if you want to enroll your student, they will be getting help with that. In addition, they are going to be getting practice with the COGAT. Again, all of it is going to be critical in helping them with their reasoning abilities. The Iowa test itself, we will give them the material. So feel free to enroll in that and we can go through all the different curriculum within that class. Yes, we do share the work done in classroom with parents. Again, the students will be working on different packets each week in class. They will be getting sent home, and if they don't complete it within class, they'll have the rest to finish up as homework. So parents, you can keep track of what they're doing in class. You'll be able to see all of their materials. Yes, we do have the class duration and all of our times listed on our website within our gifted test prep flyer. So be sure to check out the back page of that flyer. It does have all the class schedules, the timings of classes, and the dates of classes. So you'll want to be sure to check that out. You'll also want to make sure to check in every week to see what date the sessions are. So if your child is going to Bellevue, they can attend the Redmond location. However, we do recommend that they attend the center that is within their school district, just because the school districts offer different tests. So for the Bellevue School District, they offer COGAT and STAR, whereas with our Lake Washington School District, they offer COGAT and ITPS. You'll want to make sure to look to see our class schedules and if it's something that aligns. But you will want to try to enroll in the center that is within your school district. So if your child's not above the 95th percentile for STAR testing, the question is, will he be able to be accepted by the gifted program in Bellevue? I would defer you to your school district's website. So you can look, I would look up Bellevue's percentile scorings for that one, just to double check, because with every school district, they're gonna have different percentiles. They also will have different percentiles for which programs they accept students in. Some programs will have pull-out programs, will be pulled out of classrooms each week. Other programs will have students actually sent over to different schools that are specifically for highly capable students. So definitely check out your school district's website. Again, what is the process for students if they are not enrolled in a public school at North Shore? So the testing process will look a little bit different for students that are not enrolled within those public schools. However, each school district does it a little bit differently. And the testing time periods for students that are not in those public schools is also a little bit different by district. So look over your school district's website for that information as well, so that you have that. As far as STAR testing, as I mentioned earlier, because it's a computer-generated test that scales up to how a student's answering and gets increasingly more difficult, it is very difficult to prepare for those tests. So there's no sort of test prep that would be an accurate indicator of how that test would go. So what we do to prepare students is we prepare them with the ITBS, which is another knowledge-based test, very similar to the same questions they would see in STAR, except we do give them material that's scaled up one grade level to make sure that they get everything covered, especially those more difficult questions. Yes, for the COGAT, we will be teaching strategies for paper folding. We do prepare students for all parts of the COGAT, so the nonverbal, the verbal, and the quantitative. And within that, we prepare them for all the different types of questions that they would see within those sections. So we definitely do take time to help students with those paper folding questions. As far as batch sizes, I'm assuming that you're referring to the classroom sizes. All of our classes are going to be 15 students. Our kindergarten classes will have 10 students in them. Our private school students allowed to take high cap tests in North Shore School District. I would defer to that school district. Typically private school students, it's a different process for them. So you'll want to look up and see when they get tested and what that process looks like. So you can actually navigate over to the North Shore School District Highly Capable page, and they should have information for you. So as far as our teaching methods, so it's asking whether we give practice test papers or just teach the concepts. It's all going to be practice questions. So as I mentioned earlier, we're not spending time explaining the test as much as we are just kind of delving hands first into the test itself. So we're going to be doing a lot of question and answers. We're going to have students try the questions on their own, and then we'll explain how they would get those answers and give them different strategies to solving those types of questions. So all of it is going to be practicing test concepts. Within that, they do learn those specific concepts as we explain the answers to them. So the question is asking, do we recommend books to practice at home? We are giving students different packets. So they will be getting material that will help them with the test. If you want to find additional books and do practice at home, you're more than welcome to do that. So you can honestly just search for those different tests and see if they have different preparation books for those. It's always great to get in extra practice as well. So for the COGAT, it's not really divided into 9 sections. It's actually divided into the verbal, nonverbal, and quantitative. Within that, they are going to be getting specific questions. So within those 3 sections, so with the picture analogies, the classifications, all of that, every week we're going to be dividing into those sections. So they're going to be getting help with everything. All 9 sections technically, but it's only the 3 sections of the COGAT test. Yes, so do we provide teaching material that students can take home? Again, they're going to be coming home with all the work that they do in class, and then if they have homework, they're going to be having that sent home as well. So you will get to see all of their materials at home, so just double check for those. Yes, so we will be covering all 9 subcategories under those 3 main topics. So within the verbal, we're going to be covering the picture or verbal analogies, the verbal or picture classifications, and the sentence completion. Within quantitative, we're going to be covering those number analogies, number puzzles, and number series. And then within our nonverbal, we'll be covering figure matrices, paper folding, and figure classification. So we will be covering everything that's going to be asked on the COGAT. All right, so with that, that concludes our presentation and our Q&A section. If you guys want to look back, we will have the recording posted online on our Gifted Test Prep website. So feel free to look over that. Again, if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to your centers as well. Thank you guys so much for attending. We look forward to this Gifted Test Prep season.